I have to ask you about the wizard hat. You wrote a blog about Neuralink. I got a chance to visit Neuralink a couple of times, hanging out with those folks. Um, that was one of the pieces of writing you did that like changes culture and changes the way people think about a thing. The ridiculousness of your stick figure drawings are somehow it's like it's like calling the origin of the universe the Big Bang. It's a silly title, but it somehow sticks to be the representative of that. In the same way, the wizard hat for the Neuralink is somehow was a really powerful way to explain that. You actually proposed that the Man of the Year cover of Time should be
one of my drawings.
One of your drawings.
In general, yeah.
It's an outrage that it wasn't.
It was.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts about like all those years later about Neuralink? Do you find this idea like what excites you about it? Is it the big long-term philosophical things? Is it the practical things? Do you think it's super difficult to do on the neurosurgery side and the material engineering, the robotics side? Or do you think the machine learning side for the brain-computer interfaces where they get to learn about each other, all that kind of stuff? I would just love to get your thoughts because you're one of the people that really considered this problem, really studied it, brain-computer interfaces.
I mean, I'm super excited about it. I really think it's actually Elon's most ambitious thing, more than colonizing Mars, because that's just a bunch of people going somewhere, even though it's somewhere far. Neuralink is changing what a person is, eventually. Now, I think that Neuralink engineers and Elon himself would all be the first to admit that it is a maybe that whether they can do their goals here. I mean, It is so crazy ambitious to try to. Their eventual goals are, of course, in the interim, they have a higher probability of accomplishing smaller things, which are still huge, like basically solving paralysis, strokes, Parkinson, things like that. I mean, it can be unbelievable, and anyone who doesn't have one of these things, like we might, everyone should be very happy about this kind of helping with different disabilities. But the thing that is like, so the grand goal is this augmentation where you take someone who's totally healthy and you put a brain machine interface in any way to give them superpowers. It's the possibilities if they can do this, if they can really, so, they've already shown that they are for real with, they've created this robot. Elon talks about like, it should be like LASIK, where it shouldn't be something that needs a surgeon. This shouldn't just be for rich people who have waited in line for 6 months. It should be for anyone who can afford LASIK, and eventually, hopefully, something that isn't covered by insurance or, something that anyone can do. Something this big a deal should be something that anyone can afford eventually. And when we have this, again, I'm talking about a very advanced phase down the road. So maybe a less advanced phase, maybe right now, if you think about when you listen to a song, what's happening is, do you actually hear the sound? Well, not really. It's that the sound is coming out of the speaker. The speaker is vibrating. It's vibrating air molecules. Those air molecules, get vibrated all the way to your head, the pressure wave, and then it vibrates your eardrum. Your eardrum is really the speaker now in your head that then vibrates bones and fluid, which then it stimulates neurons in your auditory cortex, which give you the perception that you're hearing sound. Now, if you think about that, do we really need to have a speaker to do that? You could just somehow, if you had a little tiny thing that could vibrate eardrums, you could do it that way. That seems very hard. But really what you need, if you go to the very end, but the thing that really needs to happen is your auditory cortex neurons need to be stimulated in a certain way. If you have a ton of Neuralink things in there, Neuralink electrodes, and they get really good at stimulating things, you could play a song in your head that you hear that is not playing anywhere. There's no sound in the room, but you hear it and no one else could. And it's not like they can get close to your head and hear it. There's no sound. They could not hear anything, but you hear sound. You can turn up. So you open your phone, you have the Neuralink app. You open the Neuralink app, or just Neuralink. So basically you can open your Spotify and you can play to, you can play to your speaker, you can play to your computer, you can play right out of your phone to your headphones, or you now have a new one. You can play into your brain. And this is one of the earlier things. This is, something that seems like really doable. So, no more headphones. I always think it's so annoying because I can leave the house with just my phone, and nothing else, or even just an Apple Watch. But there's always this one thing. I'm like, and headphones. You do need your headphones, right? So I feel like, that'll be the end of that. But there's so many things that you keep going, the ability to think together. You can talk about like super brains. I mean, one of the examples Elon uses is the low bandwidth of speech. If I go to a movie and I come out of a scary movie and you say, how was it? I said, oh, it was terrifying. Well, what did I just do? I had 5 buckets I could have given you. One was horrifying, terrifying, scary, eerie, creepy, whatever. That's about it. And I had a much more nuanced experience than that. And all I have is, these words, right? And so instead I just hand you the bucket. I put the stuff in the bucket and give it to you, but all you have is the bucket. You just have to guess what I put into that bucket. All you can do is look at the label of the bucket and say, when I say terrifying, here's what I mean. So the point is, it's very lossy. I have all this nuanced information of what I thought of the movie, and I'm sending you a very low res package that you're going to now guess what the high res thing looked like. That's language in general. Our thoughts are much more nuanced. If we can think to each other, we can do amazing things. We could have a brainstorm that doesn't feel like, oh, we're not talking in each other's heads. It's not just that I hear your voice. No. We are just thinking. No words are being said internally or externally. The two brains are literally collaborating. It's a skill. I'm sure we'd have to get good at it. I'm sure young kids will be great at it and old people will be bad.
Yeah.
But you think together, and together you have the joint epiphany. And now how about 8 people in a room doing it, right? So it gets, there's other examples. How about when you're a dress designer or a bridge designer and you want to show people what your dress looks like? Well, right now you got to sketch it for a long time. Here, just beam it onto the screen from your head so you can picture it. If you can picture a tree in your head, well, you can just suddenly whatever's in your head, you can be pictured. So we'll all have to get very good at it, right? And take a skill, right? You're going to have to, but the possibilities, my God, talk about I feel like if that works, if we really do have that as something, I think it'll almost be like a new ADBC line. It's such a big change that the idea of anyone living before everyone had brain machine interfaces is living in before the common era. It's that level of big change if it can work.